So when did you start taking rap seriously or music?
I started taking it serious, I think, with I had Twista. So big influence of mine is Twista, right? Because he's from the west side of Chicago, and he had this song, and I think it's called Hope with Faith Evans, and it's like, cause I'm hopeful, yes I am, hopeful for today, take this music and use it, let it take you away.
I love that song.
I love that song because that was like, again, and they talk about it in The Founders, one of my favorite movies, the McDonald's movie, where he says that a lot of times people think that there's a lack of demand, but truthfully, there's a lack of supply. So there's no demand when there's no supply, especially if it's such a small supply or short supply that you don't even know that should exist. And that song for me was an opening to my eyes that there were other ways to influence people and change their perspective or perception of what they could do. And I was like 9, I was on the South Side, and I think it meant a lot to me because I've always felt like my life was like a ticking time bomb. Like I had only a certain amount of time to get certain things across or do certain things. But that song made me feel as if I could be hopeful in creating something that inspires people to want to live life differently through music. So when I was 9 and I heard that, that was the first time I was like, I want to make music. And I started making music. And then when I was 14, there's this amazing space, shout out to U Media in Chicago, that gave the environment, like I said, that had been taken away from so many other Black people by CPS, and not just Black people, minorities, and not just minorities. There's some white schools that white kids weren't able to do shit either because they were on some petty shit. But that gave us the resource to go into an environment that provided us with studio technology, taught people how to engineer, taught us how to, actually, so like that's a school where Chance attended, Vic Mensa, or not a school, but a program. Chance attended, Vic Mensa, Saba, No Name, McJenkins, Alex Wiley, like a lot of different Chicago creatives. Lucky X, that's like one of my really good friends. Like Lucky and me used to hang out there all the time. So there's so many different waves and eras of Chicago that it affected by giving us that space. So, I think that when I was 14, I started going in there. I put out a song called Dear Daddy and recorded another song, I believe called New Chevy. And I got King Louis on it. And that was like my
Legend.
start.
Legend. I love it. How was it just, growing up with Chance, musically, y'all were rapping with each other. And how was it just sharing that with him? I'm sure you guys can reminisce.
Yeah, it was really dope. I think like musically, like growing up, my parents always had like Lenny Kravitz, Queen, The Beatles, Sam Cooke, Aretha Franklin, Diana Ross, Marvin Gaye. Like so many different versatile artists that were always playing. It's like one of my most vivid memories isn't so much of me and my brother interacting through music, but was actually us growing up around music. Like music was always a very prevalent thing, like and I think that's something that I've realized, when it comes to publishing and money, and you're always listening to music. Like right now we're conducting an interview, but it's surrounding music.
Hell
and a
yeah.
lot of times, whether it's an elevator or a car or a TV or radio, you're always listening to music. There's so much money in music.
For sure. Is there any fondest memory or funny, crazy story with you and Chance? Just, maybe.
I got a crazy story. And I don't care because we do business with them all the time. Shout out to y'all. I'm not mad at y'all before I say this. When I was younger, I went to the Museum of Science and Industry, and it's this museum that's very well known in Chicago. It's actually one of the last buildings that's still standing from the Chicago's Great Fair or World Fair. That, like, I don't know if you... It's like, so it's interesting shit. But basically, man, I went there. I was like 3rd, 4th grade. And I was on a summer camp trip, and I went to this great body shop. So it was like a part in this Museum of Science and Industry where they have like giant magnifications, or I guess examples of the human body. So there's this one thing, it was like, I'll never forget, that shit was like this big, and it had fake blood cells in it. It was like filled with water and blood and shit. And you spin it, like I'm sure you've seen those, and then it like makes the blood cells move around how they move around in your body, an example. Never forget, I walked up to that shit, spun that shit, bow. Shit fell off the hinges, literally broke my pinky finger and like cut my shit. Like my shit was hanging off. And as a kid, it was such a crazy thing to happen because I still remember not even feeling the pain, but being laid out on the ground and looking at my pinky separated from my hand.
Oh my
and
gosh.
just so much blood. And my brother wasn't right there, but I'll never forget that, like, somehow he found out and, like, ran all the way to the ambulance. I was like, are you okay? Like, blah, 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 blah. We, like, ran out the school field trip. They were screaming, like, Chance, Chance. We was running downstairs. So that's a funny story.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Pinky's good now, though.
Pinky's
We
good, man. I'm moving.
Yo.
Full movement, man. Full movement, baby.
That has to be traumatizing, no?
It's funny because that's not I feel like maybe more traumatizing shit has happened because when I think about being traumatized, that's not the first thing that comes to mind.
What do you think of?
Another interview.
Oh, that's funny. So yeah, I guess, I remember, yeah, I saw you said your dad told you to stop trying to sound like Chance.
No. So that's what they do with the internet. He told me to stop trying to not sound like Chance. So basically,
right, that's what I meant. I'm so sorry. That's what I meant.
Perfect.
Okay,
that's perfect. So yeah, we were having a car ride. This is when I was around making this project called Broad Shoulders. That's one of my favorite projects.
That was a big one for you.
That was my first project, yeah. And basically, I was working on the project, and I was telling my dad that I was working on these new sounds and songs, and that none of them sounded like Chance, and it was something that I was going to start trying to reach more towards. And I'll never forget my dad was like, don't worry about if you sound like your brother. You're going to sound like your brother because both of you are my sons. Like, you're literally like, he was like, what you need to be worried about is the music good? Like, are you making good music? And I'll never forget that shit because it is a very true thing that a lot of artists have siblings. Had to be a very similar situation with Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson, where it's like,
crazy.
Your brother is so talented, you have to be this much more fucking talented than Michael Jackson? What? But she was, like, to the point where she's had, one of the biggest record deals of all time next to Prince, So it's like, it's a beautiful life lesson.
I was going to say, I think I saw you perform at the Roxy before, and I just appreciate your love for music and actual instruments. Like, it's a rare
I haven't
art.
done a sample since before Broad Shoulders.
No way.
So never had samples on. It's all live instrumentation and whatnot. And I think another big thing, and I'm glad we're on Vlad TV, great place to talk about it, is so much sampling in hip hop. There's no other genre of music that samples, but to bring it back to the conversation we were talking about before, again, the first rule of having slaves in America is that they weren't allowed to have large gatherings. And then the first time that they were allowed to have large gatherings was in a church. So a lot of times in church, you'll find different songs, and they talk about this, where they reflect not just a hope, but an upbeat melody of continuing to survive, right? And then you fast forward and music becomes an industry. And then when you start to hear music, especially from African Americans, when they have the platform, and I believe the first time African Americans had a free platform to speak how they felt and to show themselves off in the way that they wanted to, was with Berry Gordy at Motown in Detroit. And for anybody that doesn't know who Berry Gordy is or was the head of Motown that had Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, some of the best artists of all time. And he started his own label with $500 that he got from working in a steel mill. And then he found Smokey Robinson that helped him write most of the music for The Temptations, the Jacksons, and all these, amazing folks. But basically to say that was the first time with his label that there was a Black owner that also was in charge of what the performances looked like, what the music sounded like, how the artists talked and addressed themselves. And there was this transformation, I feel like, and I'll just say this, the stories that Black culture, like Black music in America, has always been an insight for the youth of America, Black youth of America, or even minorities a lot of times. So, and you've heard Leor Cohen say this, I think, as well, in terms of hip hop and inner city communities and slums that create the most interesting or, whatever. So basically to just say that with Motown, with all of these different artists, first time that we got to speak freely. And then since that time period, the same songs that like Dancing in the Streets or What's Going On by Marvin Gaye that definitely have subliminal messages that are much more important than how the song makes you move, right? Is my opinion. Now we sample these songs and now we put these songs on records that are the exact opposite of what I believe they were originally intended to do. And to make it worse, the music industry that we talked about came after the existence of Black slaves making church songs and reminiscing about survival are now bigger and more powerful than the artists themselves. Mm-hmm. So a lot of artists will make any kind of music to get rich. I think that's like a big part of everything damn near that we do. Like even me, I got my white suit on, I got my chains and shit. It's like money. People look at us and we think about money. Right. There's no balance in just having money. There's no happiness in just having money. You know, so.
Respect. I think I saw in an interview too, you had stopped wearing jewelry at a point?
Yeah, I went through a whole thing where I lost all this weight in like the last 3 to 4 years. One, had 2 sons, which have been the biggest blessings of my life.
Right, congratulations.
But I had like a lot of change to my mental health, which is a beautiful thing, and to my physical health as well. And through that process, I had taken off all this jewelry because I was one, getting to know myself better, but 2, I was also trying to find balance and poise in my life. You know what I'm saying? So I was trying to not just have money, but also be very fit. I was trying to not just have good friends, but also have a great relationship with my family. I was trying to not just be a musician, but also do the business of it. And throughout that situation, there were certain things that I think I had to mentally let go of so that I could excel in other spaces and stop putting so many things on this plateau or on this platform that I can't reach, when the truth is that I already have it. Like these chains, and I'm going to just say this shit, they look way better on me now because I'm fucking ripped.
I love that.
It's just true. That shit is true. There was a point in time where I felt like if I didn't have my chains on, then my outfit wasn't raw.
Right. I just got a flashback.
My outfit didn't look good because I wasn't in shape. I'll just be honest. You know what I'm saying?
I got a flashback of you showing your abs on the Hollywood Unlocked interview.
Sheesh. That's crazy. I don't even remember I did that.
Jason was like, I think you showed us your crotch.
Jason probably wanted to see my crotch. What the fuck was really going on?
That's funny. Man, just real quick, piggybacking off what you were saying about the church and stuff, you know, I know Kanye was a big influence for you.
Huge influence.
He just did the Jesus is King. He combined the gospel with the hip hop. I'm guessing you saw the Kanye documentary.
Of course.
Just what is that, like seeing someone from Chicago especially, how was that?
Like to see his success?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Because Kanye West is like, you know, a thing that I really like about Kanye West, because it's no different. If you're Black, you're white, you're Hispanic, Asian, I don't give a fuck what people tell you. The truth is that we're all very much alike. And, you know, based off the different situations or places or however we might be feeling that day, you'll get a different side, right? Like that's just how it works. You wake up on the wrong side of the bed, you might be an asshole today, right? Kanye West is like a people's person. So like, Kanye West, like, what's bigger, and I was talking to Jason earlier about this today, Lee, what's bigger than anything that Kanye West has done, like in terms of his music, in terms of Yeezys, in terms of running for the president, is his willingness to speak on what he believes. And that is what makes Kanye West. And people can hate his music, or they could hate his shoes, or they could hate, but the one thing that they'll do, they won't like it, they'll respect it. And they respect Kanye West. People respect Kanye West. And it goes deeper than his color of his skin and the music that he makes, and again, the shoes that he has on or that anyone else has on. And that's something you can't buy. It's priceless. Right. You know, respect. So I love seeing him win. And then I also love him using his influence to reach back to his community and to Chicago and to help elevate and put people in the situations, and more than just the situations, the mind frame. Because hip hop and affirmations are no different. If you sing, if you tell yourself, I'm the greatest, I'm beautiful, I'm strong, I love, I'm caring. If you say that shit all day, you're probably going to have, I don't know if you're going to have a good day. You're probably not going to get in a fight with nobody. Like, you're probably not, I'm just saying. But if you are all day pushing this same narrative, seeing the same stereotypes on TV, seeing the similarities of those stereotypes in real time in your household, and then there's the lack of supply, then there is no demand to be better. There is no demand to be great. You know what I'm saying? So I super love that Kanye is putting that perspective out there for people, and his music is allowing children and me to say things that are actually, I believe, helpful to moving forward and to achieving what we want to do in life.
Right.
You know?
Respect.